Trust helps us form, quote, vital social connections and prosper. Well, that's nice. So is Peter Pan. There is a reason Judas Iscariot is featured in the New Testament. As the cliche goes, let's get real. Trust is earned over a period of time. We have all been betrayed. It's a human condition. Doesn't mean you go cynical or isolationist, but caution regarding others is a necessity in this world. At the end of my mother's life, I had to hire caregivers to stay with her in the house. Most of them stole things, then lied about it. Ask any attorney, they'll tell you perjury in the courtroom, now out of control. Adultery, fraud, deceit in the marketplace, scams, all are everyday occurrences. So trusting others does remain a noble thing, but be careful, very careful. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Don Malden, Aiken, South Carolina. I think you said that no Jews live in Iran. There are about 8,000 who live there. I stand corrected. Good pickup, Don. About 8,000 Jews. But here's something interesting. They all have to swear allegiance to the government of Iran. But there used to be 100,000 Jews in Iran, Persian Jews. About 8. Christopher Klein, New Ulm, Texas. Bill, you said China doesn't care about Iran. What is Iran's opinion of China? I don't know. And it doesn't matter, does it? Iran has no allies now. No one. Everybody's backed away. It's alone. Dennis Hassett, Winter Haven, Florida. Your recent trip to China has inspired my son to go there. He's in the process of getting a visa. His trip would be different than yours. He has no invitation, no translator, no security. Do you think it would be safe? No. Okay, if it's my son, he's not going. Hong Kong, if it were a good hotel and he was on a tour or something, Hong Kong would be all right. If your son goes to China unattended with no translator, trouble is almost guaranteed. And you're not going to be able to get him out of it, and neither am I. So, Dennis, please pass that on to your son. The only way to go to China is by a tour. They do still have some, but you going on your own? In a moment, something you might not know. Prescription drugs in America cost way too much, as you know, especially compared to other countries. That's because Big Pharma sets the rules and makes us pay the price. Thankfully, President Trump has just signed a new executive order to lower those prices, but change takes time. So All Family Pharmacy is stepping up and offering 20% off all meds, no insurance needed, now through June 30th. Get more than 200 essential medications, including your daily maintenance meds, antibiotics, ivermectin, and methylene blue. All orders include a doctor's prescription and ship right to your door. Please visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code Bill20 for 20% off all medications. That's allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Code Bill20 for 20% off. Take control, save money, make America healthy.
Hey, want to amaze your friends when they visit? They'll be impressed when they see your custom-made draperies, blinds, or shutters. Michael Proctor will personally help you select the correct colors to truly showcase your home. Then he will actually design, personally install everything. No overhead markup. That's going to save you money on draperies, blinds, or shutters.
Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
Life's too busy for home maintenance hassles. That's where Nicole Whited Home Concierge Services comes in. From coordinating contractors and managing yearly maintenance appointments for your home and vehicles, to handling your mail, packages, and personal errands and shopping while you're home or away. Nicole takes care of the details so you don't have to. Nicole Whited Home Concierge Services. Call 314-766-1996. 314-766-1996. Effortless living starts here.
Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 72 years ago this week, an American married couple was executed for smuggling nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union. Here's the story behind the Rosenbergs. New Yorker Julius Rosenberg joined the U.S. Army in 1940. Unknown to the military, he and his wife Ethel were members of the Communist Party. Her brother, Sergeant David Greenglass, worked as a machinist at the Manhattan Project in New Mexico, which was developing the atom bomb. In 1945, the Army accused the Rosenbergs of transferring nuclear secrets to the Soviets. The couple was charged with conspiracy to commit espionage, brought to trial in 1951. It took 6 years to make the case. Well, they were found guilty and sentenced to death. Sergeant Greenglass pleaded no contest, was given 15 years in prison. The case was appealed through the courts and before world opinion. Many believe the Jewish couple were targeted because of anti-Semitism. Others claim the charges were exaggerated. In 1953, the Pope asked President Eisenhower to commute the death sentences to life in prison. But to send a message, Eisenhower refused to do that. On June 19th, the couple was brought before the electric chair in Sing Sing prison. That's in New York State. 35-year-old Julius died immediately from the first shock. After his body was removed, Ethel was placed on the electric chair, but her execution was excruciating. She survived 5 bolts of electric current and died 30 minutes later at the age of 37. And here's something else you might not know. Despite America's best efforts, the Soviet Union did obtain the bomb in 1949. In response, the USA helped Great Britain develop the technology, then France. Israel went nuclear sometime in the 1960s. The last country to successfully test the bomb, North Korea in 2006. Today, Iran is prevented from obtaining nuclear weapons by a non-proliferation agreement. But that is now causing major trouble, as you know. Back after this. Are you feeling the impact of recent timeshare industry changes? Now more than ever, the costs of timeshare ownership far outweigh the benefits. My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you get out. Our listeners' positive feedback demonstrates why I've supported the company for years. For more than a decade, they have helped over 20,000 owners get out of the timeshare. Their exclusive options can help you get out faster and easier, more than any other option in the country. They are the only company that will give you a written guarantee and release you from your timeshare in a specific time frame. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star reviews, customer service is their top priority. For free consultation and a guaranteed solution, please call 855-551-7066. That's 855-551-7066, or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump will decide within the next 2 weeks whether to strike Iran, White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
After days of warning Iran to shut down any nuclear weapon development, the president is promising more time before deciding about a U.S. military strike.
I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks.
Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who read that statement directly from the president, said he still sees a substantial chance for negotiations with Iran. She insisted that Donald Trump has solid instincts and said Americans should simply trust his decision is the right one. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Iranian missiles damaged a hospital in southern Israel and hit residential buildings near Tel Aviv. At least 240 people were wounded. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel is targeting Iranian military and nuclear sites while Iran is targeting Israeli hospitals.
They're targeting civilians because they're a criminal regime. They're the arch terrorists of the world. They want to have nuclear terrorism, which will put the entire world under nuclear blackmail, and they would use these weapons. That's what the Ayatollah Khamenei says that he would do. He would use these weapons to wipe Israel off the map. Well, he's not going to. We're not going to let him.
Farmers, cattle rangers, and hotel and restaurant managers breathed a sigh of relief last week when President Trump ordered a pause to immigration raids that were disrupting those industries and scaring foreign workers off the job. But the respite didn't last long. On Wednesday, Assistant Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security Tricia McLaughlin declared that worksite enforcement remains a cornerstone of our efforts to safeguard public safety, national security, and economic stability. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys. And I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia. I got a tour of their headquarters. I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton starting to heat up Friday into the weekend. A low of 70 tonight, 93 in the afternoon Friday with sunny skies. A little more humid, so the heat index 97. But First Alert weather days kick in Saturday through Tuesday for intense and dangerous heat. The high Saturday and Sunday around 97 with a heat index around 105 with sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
This is Katie McKinney, founder and head of school for Lafayette Academy in Lake St. Louis. Recently, we had a new second grader come to Lafayette Academy who claimed he was stupid and hated reading. Within months of using our world-class literacy program, he was reading Harry Potter and loving it. He had just not been given the right tools. We invite you to our open house Wednesday, June 25th from 5 till 7 and hear from our current families and learn more about our dedicated teachers and world-class curriculum. To learn more, go to LafayetteAcademy.org. That's LafayetteAcademy.org.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere, and we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peters, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Pond Fort Trail, and the original Stefanina's in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at Steph'sPizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Nobody would pass a law requiring the woke public schools to mentally screen your kids, would they? Oh, yeah, Illinois. We'll tell you about that on Friday.
Mornings starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks."
And there's a little levity. No, probably the wrong word, but her name is Carolyn Levitt. There's a little Carolyn Levitt there talking about what Donald Trump's current position is on the ever escalating situation between Israel and Iran in the Middle East as the world watches, and some nefarious no good doers, easy for me to say, right? Like China and Russia think about whether they should get involved. Thank goodness we've got Steve Bucci to discuss all of this with, analyze it, break it all down with us at 4:25. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Yep, that's who you're listening to. You're here at 101.9, 94.1. This is News Talk STL, streaming worldwide on the News Talk STL app at newstalkstl.com and on various streaming platforms. I'm Tim Jones, former Speaker of your Missouri House, and the one and only Chris Arps is back in the country, even though he's not quite back in the studio yet. And we understand that he's even back in St. Louis. I bet he is so glad to be here at home, sweet home. Executive producer Joey V, he's here in the studio. He and I have been here all week long. Joey, I understand that Chris is going to be joining us for his corner today.
Did you see the picture of him at the airport? He was at Philadelphia airport.
Kissing the ground.
Kissing the tile outside one of the bathrooms. I imagine he sent Becky Arps, his wonderful wife, out of the airplane first to get some soap and some paper towels and wipe down a beautiful little tile outside. And then she called him up and said, "Okay, you can come out and kiss the floor now."
And to capture that beautiful moment.
Yes. Set up the tripods, get the lights ready, because we're going to do this 2 or 3 takes if we have to.
He's a man of his word. He kissed the ground back here in the good old US of A, as he promised to do. And believe it or not, that was the inspiration for the Speaker's stump speech today. So let me get to that in a second. The rundown today, Joey and I will prepare you for the show ahead. I will entreat you with all of the big national headlines of the day, not only what's coming out of the Middle East, but what's coming out from around the globe, especially here in the good old US of A. At 4:25, yes, the aforementioned Steve Bucci. He is our international man of mystery indeed. He is our national security, international foreign affairs expert. He is, I don't say this enough about the Booch, and I don't want to ever embarrass him, although that's probably not possible. I know he's extremely proud of his country and his service. Steve Bucci is like, he's been there and done that, right? You read this guy's bio, and you would understand why we have chosen to have him on every single week on Thursdays. I know he served multiple tours. He's a combat veteran. I'm looking up his bio here. Senior fellow, he's visiting fellow. He focuses on cybersecurity, military, special ops, and defense support to civil authorities. And why is he able to do all those things? Well, because, like I said, he's been there and done that. He was the commander of the 3rd Battalion, 5th Special Forces. He led deployments in Eastern Africa, South Asia, and the Persian Gulf, including being very involved in Operation Desert Thunder in 1998 in response to Saddam Hussein's threats to violate the no-fly zone over Iraq. So he's very familiar with that part of the world. He's very familiar with military operations in that part of the world. He's very familiar with all of the actors in that part of the world, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're going to ask him, what are bunker buster bombs? Mike Franco actually gave us the specific actual, I was going to say scientific, but it's the official, I guess, military or munitions word for that weapon. And I'm going to look it up here today, right now, in just a
What were we
second.
saying? Mop, like M-O-P?
It's a mop.
Mopping the
Yes.
floor with them?
Yeah, Joey, it is a, let's see. Massive ordnance penetrator. Doesn't that sound dangerous?
You said
Indeed.
they're made right here in our backyard.
Yep, there is a huge munitions facility out in lovely St. Charles County. I got to tour that facility many years ago. It's very impressive, and man, do they put out some hardware there. So we're going to ask Steve Bucci about the MOP, the massive ordnance penetrator, the bunker buster, as it's been commonly referred to, and what other kinds of weaponry Israel would love to maybe get its hands on to help finish the job, whether the United States should get involved or not, and to what extent. And how long does Steve Bucci see in his cloudy crystal ball that this could go on for? I mean, Israel obtained air superiority over Iran in like less than 48 hours. So if we're going to extrapolate that out and continue to think that, Iran's going to continue down this path, or Israel's going to continue on this path, it's like, what do you do next? Okay, you've pretty much got full control of the country, but you haven't necessarily achieved your strategic goal of eliminating entirely their nuclear program, if that's even possible. So as you can tell, I have lots of questions. Steve Bucci will have lots of answers around 4:25. At 4:45, yes, the aforementioned Chris Arps will be back with us today, doing, as he says, Chris's Corner. That'll be at 4:45. I can only imagine what the corner will be about. It'll be about Chris being very happy to be back on the airways with us and telling us a tale or two as to, he has got so many adventures to relate. He's probably got enough radio content for the next month or two. And it was everything from the journey itself, into, around, within, and then out. He had just as much of an adventure getting out of Israel, taking, probably about a half day to a day longer than he and Becky thought it would. But he is now, I'm happy to report, safe and sound and here on the ground in St. Louis. He's going to touch base with us at 4:45, and then he will probably go to sleep for about 12 hours. And then we expect him in the studio tomorrow. I'll be making a quick jaunt down to the Lake of the Ozarks. I go down there once a year for kind of an old legacy client. I do not practice law anymore. I, maintain my licenses. I often ask myself why. All that gives me the privilege of doing is spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars every year, every other year for my New York and Missouri bar licenses, and taking countless hours of CLE credit programs. So I may just, doesn't retirement sound nice? And maybe it's time for me to retire in one aspect of my life, since I wear about 12 hats in my other parts of my life. But anyway, this is an old legacy client. I don't do any law talk and stuff for them anymore. I do help them put on their conference every year. I put the agenda together, get it approved for various credit for any attorneys who do attend, continuing education stuff, and I do some speechifying during the conference. I usually give a little political update. Nick Schroer is going to be down there with me. He's going to give a legislative update. So it's a good group. It's a fire association group spread out all across the state. It's a small volunteer and a couple large fire districts, mainly featuring board members, the elected board members, the chiefs, the battalion folks, just the folks that, help make the world go round and keep us safe and prevent us from any and all dangers and all across our state. We talked legal stuff. We talked nuts and bolts. We talked best practices, and I'll be down at the lake tomorrow. So I think I'm going to, since Chris may be, a little tired after all these journeys, maybe a little rusty. I don't know. Maybe he's excited to get back in here. I'll join you guys remotely, as we are able to do in this wonderful, wonderful time. Let me tell you, Chris's content while he was out was fantastic. You all should go back. If you haven't had a chance, look at his Facebook page. It's chronological, and you can see all the different videos that he took as he was running around the Middle East, dodging missile fire. And then his incredible, just as exciting journey out over the last 48 hours or so. So I would definitely check out Christopher Arps on Facebook. We have tagged and reposted a lot of that stuff on our socials. And so I think it's really cool. It just shows the scope and the breadth of the station, that we have access to people who want to show us places like Israel. I'm supposed to be taking a trip there, as I think many of you know. That original trip was supposed to occur next week. they're a little busy over there right now, and things aren't quite made to for those of us who are in the civilian world, who aren't in the military, to be visiting. So we're delaying that, and the good folks at Newsmax are going to be sending me new dates down the pike, planning to do that much later in the summer, and hopefully by then, the Middle East will be a very different and happier place. All right, Speaker Stump Speech at 5:07. I told you that was inspired by Chris literally kissing the ground as he promised to do once he landed back in the great city of brotherly love there in Philadelphia before he was able to head back to St. Louis. Speaker Stump Speech today. It's not crazy to kiss the ground. I'm going to tell you why. I think every once in a while we need to step back. We've talked about some we often talk about weighty subjects here, and that's because we're covering everything we need to cover around the globe, and the globe can be a pretty hot spot on most weeks. And I think sometimes we forget how thankful we should be that we don't have enemy missile fire, crisscrossing across us. And largely that's because of something that we take very much for granted. Many on the left kind of poo-poo it these days, and that's our founding documents. Those words written down on paper that a lot of people in today's world think, oh, isn't that cute? Oh, isn't that trite? They want to turn it into the living Constitution and change it. Well, it's not crazy to kiss the ground when you come back to the United States of America, and that's because of what all this country is. And I would submit that largely has to do with our foundational documents that have preserved, protected, defended us throughout all of these generations and millennia. All right, at 5:25, we've had him on the program before. We're going to welcome the famous Dick Morris back in. Remember, he rose to fame and glory during the Clinton years. He used to be a Clinton confidant, and then, segued over to the center-right side of the political aisle. He's a political consultant now and a radio host on WABC in New York City. And we're going to talk to him about various topics, including the fact that our senior Senator Josh Hawley really needs to kind of get on board and support Trump's big, beautiful bill. We'll see what Dick Morris has to say about where Josh Hawley is on that. The LA riots being an absolute dumpster fire disaster for Democrats. New York passing legislation that literally would legalize euthanasia. I mean, if you haven't figured out yet that the Democratic Party is the new party of death and destruction, then you've been living on Mars. And we'll ask him about Andrew Cuomo, trying to make a comeback, admitting to seeing the COVID nursing home death report and that he may have altered it. I mean, all these alleged conspiracy theories that we were told we had during COVID were nothing more than the truth being told. Last night, before I get to that, I just want to say, I hope you all, I'm blessed. Chris and I are blessed. Chris and I are blessed that you listen to us every day when you do. I hope you're able to share the love, spread the love with some of our other programming. If you're not listening to other shows, you're really missing out on some amazing content from some amazing broadcasters. I mean, we have everybody here from the legendary Larry Connors. Larry Connors USA follows us every week, 6 to 8 p.m. to Vic Porcelli. Who would have known back in the day that Porcelli's Deli would be playing every Thursday afternoon on a conservative political talk station here in St. Louis? Of course, Vic and Ken every day from 9 to noon. Mike Ferguson, who used to interview me when I was in the legislature. I'm always ready for those tough questions, that he used to zing at me, and every once in a while I do get one when I appear on a show in the morning. And he's such a great interviewer. Really enjoy Mike's interviews. Jamie Allman, so great to have him back. My mentor, my friend, primetime, daytime, great time slot, the 3 martini lunch. Jamie told a fascinating tale today that I had never heard before. See, even us, right? I've known Jamie forever, listened to him for almost 2 decades now. I never heard this story. Don't know if he's told it before, but he told it today on the air. If you missed it, you go back and listen to the podcast. It was the story of Andrew Jackson's wife, Rachel Jackson. And I didn't know that Jamie was in the middle of attempting, he said, to finish a book that he had been writing about Rachel Jackson. And he told some really fascinating stories about that former first lady. What an amazing fighter and patriot and lady leader she was. So I'm not going to go into great detail because I'm about to run out of time in this segment. If you missed that, you should go back and listen to that podcast. All of our shows are podcasted, and you can find them wherever you might find podcasts. Simply put, there, the end. What was I saying before that? Anyway, yeah, we have 6 awesome live and local programs every single day, and that's not even scratching the surface when you include all the amazing content that we have on the weekends. So this is a 24/7 amazing station that did not exist. Our metrics were zeros less than 4 years ago. Now I'll be able to say less than 5 years ago pretty soon, because we're about to hit our 4th year anniversary in July. But barely 4 years ago, all of our metrics were zero, right? Because we didn't exist in June of 2021. We launched in July of 2021. So in June of 2021, there were 0 listeners. There were 0 followers on Facebook or Twitter X. Nobody knew we were going to have a Rumble channel, right? Nobody knew our lineup. And here we are nearly 4 years later. And on Facebook alone, I don't know that anybody has ever had this level of success in launching a new product like this. On Facebook alone, if you go to Facebook right now and you type in Newstalk STL, hopefully you've already liked us and followed us. And I hope you do that on our other platforms as well. I know you can't watch 5 platforms at once, but go on them. You might pick and choose from them and just like, follow, subscribe, Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. But if you look at Newstalk STL's Facebook page, 4 years ago, no followers. Today, June 19th, 2025, 5,700 plus followers just on Facebook alone. That is really remarkable. Oh, I just reminded myself. Happy Juneteenth, in all seriousness, to everyone who is celebrating that. And I hope everyone is celebrating that. I'll tell you a little bit about Juneteenth. Maybe when Chris comes on, we can ask him, what he thinks about Juneteenth. One of the newest holidays that was instituted, I think, in 2021. And it's got some very significance for those in the Black community, in the African-American community, in the minority community. I would probably argue writ large. It's a day commemorating freedom and liberty. So we'll get into that a little bit later as well. All right, it is 4:22. I've got a bazillion questions, like I know you do as well, for Steve Bucci. So let's take a quick break. Come back. We're going to talk to our international man of mystery about all things near and far. Israel, Iran, Russia, Ukraine, China, and more when we return here at 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
You were acting like a maniac and you threatened her with a bomb.
No, I said I didn't have a bomb.
You can't say bomb on an airplane.
Bomb, 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 bomb.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Starting to heat up Friday into the weekend. A low of 70 tonight, 93 in the afternoon Friday with sunny skies. A little more humid, so the heat index 97. But First Alert weather days kick in Saturday through Tuesday for intense and dangerous heat. The high Saturday and Sunday around 97 with a heat index around 105 with sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey everybody, it's your buddy Todd Showalter from the Right Mind Show, along with my buddy Joey V. And remember, we're not on just Saturdays at 5. Now we're on Sundays at 2.
Putting the fun in our dysfunctional world. It's the Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter.
I told you so. Yes, I did. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. Did you hear that weather forecast? It's going to be hot, hot, hot in the heartland. And so I'm sure, like me, you're just going to smile and pull up your app on your phone and just turn on your lawn irrigation system and not give it a second concern, right? Oh, you didn't call Hydrodynamics Core and have a system put in. It's not too late. I will stop laughing at you if you get a hold of them today. Yes, it's going to be hot time, summer in the city and all across the land this weekend. And we are now going to be entering summer on just right around the official first day of summer, which I believe is in a day or two. Hydrodynamics Core, 52 years in the business, established in 1973 right here in St. Louis. They were the first commercial and residential lawn irrigation company in St. Louis. So they were the first, and I would argue they're still the best. Hydrodynamics Core has expanded their scope of services beyond irrigation systems. That is, of course, their bread and butter and the foundation of everything else they do. But now they are happy to help you out with outdoor lighting, drainage issues, finishing your hardscapes around your home. I'll tell you what that is later. And turf management programs as well. And I was reminded today, as I was looking at my lawn, and I probably got to give Hydrodynamics Core a call, that it's not enough just to have water in the summertime, because there's all kinds of weeds and disease and fungus and such and so forth. That's where Hydrodynamics Core comes in to take care of all of that, right? First of all, the basic building block. Get an irrigation system from them. If you already have an irrigation system, they're happy to service that for you. It doesn't matter who put it in, what brand it was. Hydrodynamics Core, with 52 years in the business, has the know-how to take care of all of them. And you're going to want to have them come out, do like a mid-season tune-up, probably in maybe a couple weeks or so at the peak of summer. Make sure everything is running up to snuff. Premium turf management programs. This is for the weeds, the bugs, the fungus, and so on and so forth. They do 6 rounds of it, plus an annual core aeration and overseeding. You sign up for the whole kit and caboodle, and then you don't have to worry about it for the entire season. Isn't that nice? And it's extremely affordable. I already told you about irrigation services and installs. Outdoor lighting, they service and install that as well. And I told you about hardscaping. What is hardscaping? Well, that's like dressing up your home, making that outdoor space more livable and desirable. Retaining walls, patios, walkways, edging, and those beautiful outdoor fireplaces. Yeah, Hydrodynamics Core does all of that as well. And they can put in really cool water features, ponds and pondless waterfalls and fountains. They do it all from soup to nuts. Going to keep your lawn looking spectacular throughout all of the heat and humidity that we've got coming up, which is about to begin tomorrow. Hydrodynamicscore.com. Check them out anytime, 24/7 at hydrodynamicscore.com.
Are you sitting on hidden treasure? Manchester Coin and Jewelry wants to turn your valuables into cash. We're Missouri's premier gold buyers and jewelry specialists with years of expertise. We offer top dollar for your coins, antiques, precious metals, and collectibles. From gold and silver to clocks and jewelry, we buy it all. Don't let your treasures collect dust. Let Manchester Coin and Jewelry give you the best value. Visit online at buyingvaluables.net or come see him today at 141 in Manchester and tell him Newstalk STL sent you.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention Newstalk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Mention Newstalk STL for 10% off.
This Steve Bucci update is brought to you by Hydrodynamics. For all your lawn irrigation, outdoor lighting, drainage, hardscapes, and turf management, online at hydrodynamicscorp.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
We can report here from the White House that because all options remain on the table, something President Trump has been asking his military advisors about is whether or not bunker buster bombs could get the job done and penetrate deep enough to destroy certain hidden Iranian nuclear infrastructure, if that is what President Trump decides to do. He is also out in the open hinting at other kinds of military assistance the U.S. could offer.
We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like, nobody's able to see them stealth.
We're going to talk about all of that and lots more with our next guest. Steve Bucci, visiting fellow for Special Ops at the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, yes. What were you about to ask me? Do you expect me to talk?
He is Steve Bucci. He's with the Heritage Foundation. He's our international man of mystery, expert in all things. And he joins us once again. Steve, thanks for being with us today. So glad to have your insight and your expertise during these challenging times in the Middle East.
It's always my pleasure to be on the show. I hope I can help.
Absolutely. So, Steve, we've been throwing around the phrase bunker buster bombs quite a bit. And one of my friends who actually works in the industry said the official terminology for that they utilize is massive ordnance penetrator. They call them MOPS. So, Steve, what are these things and how do they work? And are we the only nation that has this technology to this level?
I think we're the only ones that have the technology that we use specifically. Other people have similar devices or something they hope will do basically the same thing. I think ours are probably better than what anybody else has. Our penetrators, they're really big bombs, first of all. Second, they're delivered in our system by the B-2, the stealth bomber out of Missouri. And they are dropped and this is something I'm not 100% sure of. This target that we're looking at, the facility that everybody's focused on, that's supposed to be some 300 feet under the mountain. And they have pretty significant mountains in Iran. That I believe they have to use like more than one of these penetrators. So they're almost in a pattern that is somehow scientifically calculated by the bomb people. They drop these ordnance. They're so big and heavy that they go into the ground and they don't detonate until they've reached a certain depth. And then when the detonation finally goes, and I can't tell you exactly what the depth is. Number one, because I don't know, and number two, it's classified. It'll literally take that mountain apart. So it's not just to hit, some concrete building out there. We've got regular bombs that can do that. This is a much harder task because of the depth and because it's in natural rock. I mean, it's not getting through some man-made structure. It's getting through a mountain to a space that's been burrowed into the mountain itself. And when it goes off, basically that mountain is going to turn into a big pile of rubble, and everything that's under it is going to be gone. So it's very specialized. We have, to my knowledge, shared some capabilities like this with the Israelis, but not the big ones that we're talking about here. And the only ones who can deliver those are the B-2s that you guys so graciously keep track of there in Missouri for us. So this will be a big step, but I think if people understand this, it doesn't mean that Trump's going to war with Iran. He's helping out an ally. He is, if he says yes to this, he is removing a very specific existential threat to the United States of America. We're not doing this just to help the Israelis, though that's clearly a huge benefit that we would like to do, but it's to remove a threat against the United States of America, the homeland, and our interests around the world. That doesn't mean you're at war. In fact, Trump could have done this and not told anybody he was doing it, removed this threat, brought the planes back to Missouri, sat there and said, "Nah, we didn't do anything." I don't know how the Israelis did that. He has chosen not to do that. He is trying to use the threat of it as an incentive to get the Iranians to say, "No mas, come take it all away. We don't want it anymore." But those guys are unlikely to do that. So I think it's highly likely that this, very specialized technology, which was designed for us, by the way, to alleviate the need to use nuclear weapons to do the same thing. Before we had this kind of technology, the only way we could get a deep target like that is to drop nukes on it. We don't have to do that now. So there's no fallout. It's just a lot of really colossal booms, and then the effectiveness of those explosions to remove the facility that is housing this element of the Iranian nuclear development plan.
So, Steve, why do you think there is a delay here. Donald Trump today said, well, number one, we know Donald Trump never likes to tip his hand as to anything that he may or may not do. But today he specifically said that he would make a decision as to whether or not the U.S. would take any actual action on this within the next 2 weeks. So I guess at any time over the next 2 weeks. Steve, do you think that maybe the Israelis have said, hey, give us a little time here. We're going to do what we're going to do. And then maybe they'll decapitate Iran's leadership to the point where maybe the U.S. doesn't have to get involved? What do you say?
That's a possibility. They could have said, hey, give us a couple more days to make sure we eliminate all of the air defense, all of the retaliatory capabilities that Iran might potentially use if we do a strike like what we're talking about, so that when we do it, that they have no way of, right now the Ayatollah is pounding his chest and saying, hey, you do this, boy, you're going to be sorry. We're going to come and get you. And right now they're down to, not many missile launchers left or any of these other capabilities they have. And every day that the Israeli Air Force has air dominance over the entire country of Iran, they keep plinking more and more targets and removing more and more of that capability. So waiting another couple of days or a week or two is probably not going to hurt anything and has the potential to lessen any capability of a counterstrike. But also, as you say, they may give up. Maybe the regime will be so weakened because it's trending in that direction that the Iranian people rise up and get rid of this regime. So all of this, the high-tech attack stuff is not needed. That would be a much better outcome for everybody, including the people in Iran, because when you do things like we potentially are going to do, it is not like a rifle shot. I mean, this is going to take out a big chunk of their territory and probably a lot of people. Trump does not like indiscriminate strikes. He doesn't want to go to war. Remember, that's one of the things he was elected on, was to not do this kind of stuff. But I will point out to everybody that he was unequivocal about the fact that he was not going to let people threaten us. He was not going to let people push us around. So he's not bellicose in the sense that, he wants to crash around the whole world, changing it and starting wars all over the place. He is pretty darn strong with his feelings that don't screw with America or you're going to pay the price for it. He's always, that's not a change in him. That's if people don't think that's what he's been saying, they need to go back and review some of his remarks in the past.
Steve, there was some saber rattling today from China and Russia. Seems like they were I guess they were upset that nobody was talking about them over the last 2 weeks, because basically the news was that they were going to get together and talk about what was going on between Israel and Iran. So, Steve, my question is this just performative posturing, or do we need to be concerned about what Russia and or China's involvement in this part of the world might be while this is all happening?
Part of me wants to say, both of those two are sort of spitting into the wind here. They are not relevant at this moment, which upsets them greatly. It really hurts their egos. I'm surprised Kim Jong-un isn't, shooting rockets out into the Pacific Ocean like he does when he feels, underappreciated. That's probably coming by the weekend. But, look, China and Russia both have capabilities. Neither of those countries are going to use any of those capabilities to threaten America or our interests to save the Ayatollah. All right. They didn't do it to save Syria, and the Russians had a base there, and the Chinese sold them all sorts of crap. And they were the primary, partner to Iran. Neither China or Russia lifted a hand when the Al-Qaeda guy took over Syria, and is totally going in the opposite direction of what the Iranians would want. So, they're going to stomp their feet. They're going to make speeches in the UN. They're going to try and be relevant, but they are not major players in this particular area. And neither of them are going to send troops. Russia doesn't have any troops to send anywhere. They're borrowing people from North Korea, for goodness sake. The Chinese have lots of people, not a heck of a lot of capability to move them anywhere. So they are not an expeditionary military that's going to suddenly show up in the Middle East and start running around conquering countries. They just don't have that kind of reach. Now, they could take advantage of, as this gets more intense, to try and do something locally. The Russians are kind of decisively engaged already, so I don't see them being able to do much anything. The Chinese, the big worry is always whenever anything is going on elsewhere in the world, that China is going to take that moment to go and attack Taiwan. I think China would be unwise to do that because they've got a president right now who is not Joe Biden or Barack Obama. And Donald Trump, as he says, doesn't like wars, doesn't want to get in wars, will talk to anybody about darn near anything to avoid going to war. But that doesn't mean he's going to let you walk all over him or walk all over the United States of America. So all those other countries, we need to watch them, and we have lots of people and capabilities watching them. I personally don't think they are relevant players at this moment in this particular conflict.
Steve, final question for you. What about, real quick here, I got about 2 minutes left. The rest of the players in the region, the other Arab states, are they quietly hoping that the big bully on the block, who has been just so full of bluster for the last nearly 50 years, Iran, has a different leadership makeup? Or are any of them concerned about Israel flexing its muscles, or maybe a little bit of both?
No, I think the first one is the case. Everybody else in the Middle East, even other Shia countries, consider Iran a much bigger threat than Israel. They know Israel is not trying to take over the Middle East. Israel wants to stop being in charge of the Muslims they already got in Gaza and places like that. They darn sure don't want to take over any other countries. Iran, on the other hand, does. Iran thinks they should be running everything in the Middle East. But right now, they are at the weakest they have been in my memory because of the loss of Hamas, Hezbollah, Syria. Their own ability to defend themselves is gone. I think the others are sitting there going, boy, God bless those Jews. Let them do the dirty work. We didn't want to have to do this because it'd be dangerous and difficult. But boy, the Israelis have taken them to town. So there's a lot of quiet nods, and in some cases, actual help from Jordan, from Saudi Arabia, and some of the others. So no, this is not going to trigger the rest of the Muslim world, most of whom don't like the Ayatollahs, to jump up and come to their defense. That is not happening.
Excellent. Well, that's great news indeed. Steve, thanks so much for all of the insight and the analysis. Excellent conversation. And we'll look forward to speaking with you again next week, my friend.
Sounds good. I look forward to it. Have a great week.
You too as well. Steve Bucci at S Bucci on Twitter, xheritage.org. Chris's Corner with the one and only Chris Arps is up next. How about them apples? The Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
You're going to stand there owning a fireworks stand and tell me you don't have no whistling bungholes, no spleen splitters, whisker biscuits, honky lighters, Husker do's, Husker don'ts.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Look Forward Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Starting to heat up Friday into the weekend. A low of 70 tonight, 93 in the afternoon Friday with sunny skies. little more humid, so the heat index 97. But first alert weather days kick in Saturday through Tuesday for intense and dangerous heat. The high Saturday and Sunday around 97 with a heat index around 105 with sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News, analysis, opinion.
Isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country?
How the mayors in these sanctuary jurisdictions are dealing with it, that's interesting.
Safety is our primary concern.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is Larry Connors, and my favorite sandwich at Capriati's is a Philly cheesesteak with peppers, sweet peppers, but sometimes hot peppers. I love Capriati's, and so will you.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Early this morning, an Iranian ballistic missile directly hit the Soroka hospital in Be'er Sheva. This hospital serves over 1 million Israelis, including Bedouins, Jews, Christians, and Arabs alike. Iran targeting civilian centers with ballistic missiles is no surprise for us. They have been openly declaring their desire to destroy the state of Israel for decades now. These aren't just words. Over the past 6 days, Iran has launched over 450 ballistic missiles and hundreds of UAVs. This is exactly why we cannot and we will not allow this regime to obtain nuclear weapons.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
And now it's Chris's Corner with none other than Chris Arps. Chris, welcome back, my friend. Congratulations. So great to have you.
It is so nice to be in America. It's so nice to be in St. Louis. It's so nice to be out of harm's way. If you guys saw my Facebook page today when we landed at the Philadelphia airport, I literally kissed the ground. I was happy to be back here. And the guy that was with me, one of the Heroes Foundation's guy, he said, that's nasty, man. He understood. But he was joking with me. He understood what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Chris, you inspired my speaker stump speech today. My stump speech is, it's not crazy to kiss the ground. I'm going to talk about why you and others who travel the globe are always so happy when we come back to the United States of America. We take a lot of things for granted here, don't we?
I think we take for granted that we don't have enemies shooting ballistic missiles at us, where we have to go to bomb shelters late at night. We aren't surrounded by hostile groups associated with a suicidal nation that is trying to kill us. So, yes, we have it very well here in the United States, and I already knew that, but I really, really appreciate living in the United States and being a citizen of this great country.
Chris, it was so awesome hearing from you on your own show and throughout News Talk STL during your travels. I think it was awesome. Really awesome for you to take the time to do that, despite the fact you were in a war zone. You had other things to worry about, but that was so cool. Tell us what it was like the last couple of days you were there, and then about this wild journey you went on to get back home.
Well, I have to start off. The wild journey would not have been possible, and I've mentioned it many times here, but Operation Dynamo. I mean, let me just tell you how the process works. Once you're in a situation where you want to get out of the country, they have an application that's on WhatsApp, and you send them your information, you send them their passport. Once they have you on their manifest, that's when they get the ball running. They have buses where they'll have checkpoints where can you get to this particular checkpoint? If you can, they'll take that bus to the Jordanian border. Once you get to the border, they've got security that shows up in big black SUVs, probably 5 or 6 guys that look very menacing, and they help you get across the border. They pay for all of your visa fees. They take care of everything. Their only concern is getting Americans out of harm's way and getting them home back to their families. And I just can't say enough for this organization doing what they did for us and many, many others. And, it kind of harkens back to me a little bit when we talk about on the program about here in the United States and Democrats and welfare and liberals. Look, if Becky and I and others wouldn't have taken matters into our own hands and found our own way out and depended on the government, we'd still be there in harm's way. And I think you can kind of relate that to, if you have a situation, you got to take the bull by the horns, do what you got to do and rectify your situation. You can't wait for the government to swoop in and take care of you.
Yeah. How awesome is it that there are Americans, not just in this country, doing great things. There's Americans around the globe doing great things. And you met so many of them in Israel. So Chris, the last 24 hours or so that you were in Israel, from what we've seen on television, things weren't getting any better, right? The Iranians were just lobbing as much crap at Israel indiscriminately that they could, right?
Yeah, as we've been traveling through Jordan and to Qatar, a buddy of mine that's with me, Heroes to Heroes Foundation soldier, that's here from Missouri. That's why we were traveling together. He still had the app on his phone that showed the alerts, and it also has a map pinpointing all of the missile attacks against Israel. And when you see that map, it's just red dots all over Israel, and they have picked up their assaults. That clip that you came in with there, Tim, with talking about Khomeini, the missile hitting the hospital. I think Khomeini just signed his death warrant with that move.
Yeah. Chris, the Israelis that you were able to speak with, are they ready to have Iran off their backs after nearly 50 years? Or is there a division in the country that you picked up on at all as to what people think about this action?
No, not at all. I mentioned it earlier in the show, earlier in the week. Our Israeli guide, who's a major in the army, said, "Look around." When we were traveling doing our tours, you see Israeli flags everywhere. The government has them everywhere. You look at people's homes; they have Israeli flags there. And he says, "Yes, we have left and right here, and they do debate vigorously. But one thing that they all come around and have agreement with is they love Israel. And I wish we could have that back in America, here in America, where, you may differ on someone from a political view, but ultimately you love America. And not to be hyperbolic, but I think it's fair to question some of these progressives. Do they love America?
Yeah. Especially after what we've seen while you were gone out in LA, where they're literally burning down another one of their cities. Chris, you got to see some locations that you probably thought weren't on the itinerary a few weeks ago. I think you went through Jordan, and did you go through Qatar? And where else did you travel through on the way home?
Oh, it was a journey, man. It took us literally 3 hours to get through the border of Jordan. Our bus stopped there. It was something that was a little scary, but the Jordanian official came to the bus, and we had to give him our passports.
Oh boy!
And I was like, "Yeah, tell me about it." So I'm like, "Yeah," but it was like, and he was like, "Don't leave the bus. Stay on the bus." He was very polite and nice about it, but he took our passports and said, "Don't leave the bus." And it really took about 3 hours for them to go through all the paperwork and do all of that. So next, we went, we stayed, we finally got through. We found a hotel about 15 minutes, about 20 minutes outside of Jordan, Amman. We had to go there because, my wife loves the Hilton Point. So we had to go. So that was all out the way to get the Hilton Point. But we had a nice dinner. The next morning, it was a 2-hour flight to Qatar. I'm telling you, Qatar, you remember how Donald Trump used to say, we need to pick up our airports, our infrastructure. Like, man, if you go to just imagine Plaza Frontenac built around a airport.
Wow.
with a what do you call it, a botanical garden inside of it. I mean, it was just ridiculous, just the stuff that they had. And one of the most beautiful airports probably in the world. We left Kuwait. We left some of my other friends who were in Kuwait. We left Qatar at 1:30 in the morning local time for check this out, a 15-hour flight.
Wow.
And try to sleep on a plane for 15 hours. I can tell you, it's very, very difficult.
Yeah, 15 hours. And then
15 hours.
And then we saw you landed in the city of brotherly love. How appropriate, back in Philadelphia this morning. Wow.
Here's what was weird. So the immigration lady there, I asked her was she a native Philadelphia. She said yes. I told her, look, I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm gonna tell you this right off. But I was never so happy to see the Philadelphia Eagles Lincoln Field when we were coming towards the airport. That's when I kind of knew I was home. I was like, all right, Lincoln Field, Philadelphia. I'm a Cowboy fan, but that's a wonderful sight for Sora.
Indeed. Chris, we got about a minute or two left here. Biggest takeaways from all of your journeys, all your adventures, literally in a war zone in the Middle East and the state of Israel.
Well, I tell you what, this suggestion never came to me, never crossed my mind, but several people have suggested that I write a book.
Oh.
So I'm seriously contemplating that. Here's the title. Tell me what you think.
Okay.
My 9 days in Israel during Operation Rising Lion, a book of faith, cultural understanding, and geopolitics.
Ooh, I love it. I think Joey wants to be your agent on that. He'll make he wants the movie rights. He wants the movie rights.
Okay. Yeah, Joey, let's talk later. I like a movie.
Beautiful.
Who's going to play me, Denzel?
Of course.
I was
why
just
wouldn't
thinking
it?
that. I was thinking Denzel.
Michael B. Jordan. No,
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan. He's a younger guy.
Oh, yeah, Michael B.
Yeah.
Jordan. Yeah, he can do the young.
We have
Chris Arps.
We have similar physiques.
Well, after Joey gets done with you on his little AI thing, you'll look exactly like him. Yeah.
Probably.
Chris, so great to have you back. We're looking forward to having you back in the studio tomorrow. My goodness, so glad you and Becky are safe and sound, and you've got stories probably from now until the end of time. Indeed.
Fantastic adventure. I always told my wife when we first started dating, I didn't have anything. It was after the divorce. I said, I'm broke. I don't have anything. But Becky, it'll never be boring.
That's for sure.
I think I proved that.
Buckle up, Buttercup. Indeed. That's Chris Arps. He'll be back in studio tomorrow for the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Chris, get some rest, my friend. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, thanks.
All right, very good indeed. And now he's going to go, I think, right to bed. When we come back, it's not crazy to kiss the ground, as Chris Arps said. That's the subject of the stump speech, followed by Dick Morris. All that more straight ahead, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Since 1995, Renewal by Anderson has helped St. Louis homeowners upgrade with windows and doors. Now it's our 30th anniversary sale. You'll get $1,995 off every project. No gimmicks, real savings, and the nation's best warranty. The offer ends June 30th, so you don't want to wait. There are some restrictions. Visit rbastl.com. Renewal by Anderson. Superior products, exceptional service.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump's willingness to consider war with Iran has divided some of his most staunchest allies. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Leading voices within the president's MAGA movement are split when it comes to possible military action against Iran. Some of the president's top supporters are upset, but White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said,
"Nobody should be surprised by the president's position that Iran absolutely cannot obtain a nuclear weapon."
The president this week said he's not looking for a fight with Iran, but if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, he said you have to do what you have to do. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Israel's defense minister threatened Iran's supreme leader after Iranian missiles damaged a hospital in southern Israel and hit residential buildings near Tel Aviv. At least 240 people were wounded. Meanwhile, Israel struck a heavy water reactor linked to Iran's nuclear program. The rebuilding of one of the nation's oldest black churches started today with a ceremonial groundbreaking in Virginia. Correspondent Donna Warder reports.
An African Baptist church is being rebuilt at Colonial Williamsburg. Janice Candiday of African American Community Engagement says the new structure will recognize one of the oldest black congregations in the country.
1776 is when we formally have the organization of a church, or it's documented.
The original meeting house was destroyed by a tornado in 1834, and a larger church was built in 1856. It was demolished in 1957 and was eventually turned into a parking lot. I'm Donna Warder.
Hurricane Eric has made landfall in the western part of Oaxaca state in Mexico. It's now been downgraded to a tropical storm. More at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
Hi, my name's Neil. I have some advice for you if you've been trying to break free from credit card debt. You can start by doing what I did. Get your bills together and call Trinity Debt Management. Trinity is dedicated to helping people like me become debt-free. When I called, my first experience was a feeling of relief. My counselor was kind, and best of all, she didn't judge me. In just a few minutes, she helped me figure out a plan that consolidated all my bills into one lower monthly payment. This substantially reduced my high interest rates and put me on the road to success. In the end, I saved thousands in interest, and today my credit card debt is a thing of the past.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
My name is Neil. Take it from someone who's been there. Call Trinity and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Starting to heat up Friday into the weekend. A low of 70 tonight, 93 in the afternoon Friday with sunny skies. A little more humid, so the heat index 97. But First Alert weather days kick in Saturday through Tuesday for intense and dangerous heat. The high Saturday and Sunday around 97 with a heat index around 105 with sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Graduation season is here. Make your parties memorable with Anthony's Produce beautiful fruit and vegetable trays. Perfect for any special event. We're featuring the freshest local produce coming into season, including the best tomatoes in town. Anthony's is your one-stop shop for everything you need. Fresh bison, beef, chicken, and pork. Delicious Fazio bread straight from the bakery. Anthony's Produce on Jungerman in St. Peters. Call 636-936-0496 or stop by today.
Hi, this is St. Louis County Councilman Mark Harder reminding you to check out my new show this weekend.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
That's me. Every Sunday evening at 5, we will explore with you behind-the-scenes stories and information that you won't hear anywhere else. Plus, we talk to decision makers and influencers that have impact on what's going on in St. Louis County and beyond.
The St. Louis County Insider with Councilman Mark Harder.
I'll talk to you Sunday night at 5, only on News Talk STL.
Public schools, like public libraries, should be free and open to all. Open enrollment allows parents to choose the school that's the best fit for their children. Maybe another school has a wider curriculum, is bigger or smaller. Maybe a kid is being bullied and would be more comfortable at another school. 75% of parents favor open enrollment. Open enrollment programs now exist in 43 states, and Missouri should join them. Our next-door neighbor, Kansas, has one of the strongest open enrollment policies in the nation. Kansas parents are trusted with choices and options, while Missouri parents must move out of their home to change public schools. And it's a trend. Nationwide, the percentage of students going to their chosen public school has steadily increased. Assigning kids to schools based on their zip code is the old way. Open enrollment is a better way. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
The minority did not call any witnesses for today's hearing. They have chosen to ignore the hearing as they chose to ignore President Biden's mental decline, but we do have a short video of some previous statements from Biden administration officials and Democrat Party officials telling us not to believe our lying eyes. We can play the video.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
There is nothing to these challenges, these suggestions that somehow he's not sharp and he's not capable.
We see Joe Biden up close. We know how attuned he is to the issue.
And you're going to see how smart he is and the experience he has.
I say his age is an asset.
Aha!
Reminds me of 2 famous movie scenes. One would be Fredo in Godfather. Vic would know this off the top of his head. I think Godfather 2. I'm smart. People say I'm dumb, but I'm smart. And then the other one, not from a movie. It was Al Franken when he was on Saturday Night Live doing the whole shtick he used to do with, doggone it, I'm smart and people like me. What was that character's name, Joey?
I can handle things. I'm smart. Not like everybody says. Like dumb, I'm smart, and I want respect.
There you go. That's Fredo. And then Al Franken, Saturday Night Live. Was it Stuart Smiley?
Because I'm good enough.
There he is.
I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me.
Stuart Smalley. See, that's what immediately jumps to my a movie reference and a comic reference jump into my head. You know why? Both of them are not reality. And that's not reality with what the Democrats were saying there, right? So I just immediately laugh when I hear those clips. And you know what? Big shout out and kudos to the extremely tall junior senator from the great state of Missouri, my good friend Eric Schmidt, who I saw in action last week. Joey, I don't know, did I tell this story? I was at the congressional baseball game last Wednesday night, and it is an annual event. Republicans versus Democrats. It's all in good fun. It's a very festive atmosphere. It helps that the Republicans beat up on the Democrats again, like 15-2 or something, but like they have the last several years. But Democrats need to work on their athleticism and something. I don't know. Too much soy in the diet. I'm not sure. I'm joking. Eric Schmidt looked great. I mean, he looked like a ball player, man. I'm like, well, it helps that he's 6'2", 6'3". He's got a good bat. Got a good glove, had cool, the uniforms look cool. And he had a little post-game reception afterwards. And Joey, all the famous people were there. We saw Nate Lucas there from Congressman Eric Burleson's office. and Kelly Sandu, who's our good friend from Eric Schmidt's office, and a bunch of folks from back home. A bunch of the senior staffers came up for the event. So that was the congressional baseball game. So, yeah, but when I hear Democrats on that loop there that Senator Schmidt played, I just laugh because they're not serious people. They weren't serious back then when they knew when they were saying those things that they weren't real or accurate. But the media was hook, line, and sinker accepting every single word of what they were saying. And everybody knew the joke, right? It's a famous phrase of one of my political consultant friends, James. James would always say that. He'd be like, Tim, so-and-so gets the joke. Kind of like, yeah, they know that they know that what they're saying is goofy or silly or, a little tongue in cheek, but they get it. They have self-awareness. That's what that means. And I know that Democrats are not dumb. They have dumb ideas. Well, they got some dumb people like Mazie Hirono. She's pretty dumb. Let me take that back. Then there was the guy who thought that the Democratic congressman years ago who thought that if you put too many people on the island of Guam, like if you put them on one side of the island, he literally said this. He was afraid that if too many people were on one side of Guam, the island would tip over. I'm serious. Look it up. This guy said, yes, I'm being funny, but I'm not making fun. I don't have to make fun of them because these are the things they say. So some of them are dumb. Some of them are dumb as a box of rocks. But people like Pelosi, I don't know about the goofy French lady, Karine Jean-Pierre. I don't know if she's dumb or not. I can't. Some days I think she is. Some days I think maybe they gave her the binder and they said, here, lady, just read from this. So, boy, what a difference between her and Carolyn Leavitt. And you know what? I'll be fair. What a difference between her and, what's her face? Circle back. Psaki. Like, I never agreed with anything Psaki said. I think she lied through her teeth most days as well. But smart lady, tough lady, right? Didn't read word for word from a binder. That's what happens with the DEI hire. Oh, you're a racist. Yeah, well, whatever. No, I just call things out that are actually accurate, And I'm not a racist because there are plenty of people that could have filled Karine Jean-Pierre's role of all shapes, sizes, colors, creeds, codes, sexual persuasions that would have been better than her. All right. I'm sure somebody like Mitt Romney has a binder of candidates somewhere. So where was I going with all this? Oh, so some of those Democrats, if not all of them, that were played in that little loop that the senator, the great senator from Missouri, Eric Schmidt, played in that hearing, those people knew exactly what they were doing. They had extreme self-awareness. And their self-awareness was so extreme that they were able to lie with great abandon. And that's what they were doing. None of them thought that Joe Biden was sharp as a... Why would you be sharp as a tack? Their logic... And look, they may be smart, but their logic often falls flat because they twist themselves into pretzels and knots trying to convince us of stupid things. Say stupid things, win stupid prizes. So... Isn't that the dumbest thing you could possibly say about the leader of the United States of America, the leader of the free world, the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief of the most powerful nation currently on the planet, hopefully forever and ever, amen? Wouldn't that be the dumbest thing you were saying? Joe Biden is sharp as a tack and clean as a whistle behind closed doors, but boy, is he a numbskull in front of the planet. Like was that like to throw everybody off? Like, I'm going to act really stupid when people are watching me so I can deceive people? No, world leaders saw the real Joe Biden, and boy, did they take advantage of him for 4 long years. You wouldn't be sharp as a tack and brilliant as brilliantly hitting the bullseye behind the scenes and then a complete muttering, doddering idiot in front of the cameras, because that literally shows the world the weakness of the world's lone superpower. Maybe we're not as super as we thought we were back during the Biden years. No, it was just because we had the wrong guy at the helm. So kudos to U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt for absolutely embarrassing and owning the stupid libs. because their little game is over. It's game, set, match. No one believes that Joe Biden was doing much of anything except getting up late and going to bed early and making sure they had plenty of ice cream. And for those of you out there in liberal land who are like, well, why are Republicans doing this? This is just performative theater. They're just playing politics. Don't you want to actually know who was running the country? And this needs to be exposed so it's never attempted again. How dangerous was this? Must this have been? How many things don't we know about were screwed up during those 4 years because Joe Biden was not actually the master of his domain and it was not actually operating intellectually as the commander-in-chief and the leader of the free world? All right. As you heard in the last hour, if you didn't, shame on you. Pull down the podcast, listen to it. It'll be available right after the show is over. Chris Arps is back in the country. Not only is he back in the country, he's back in the loo. Not only is he back in the loo, he'll be back on the air here tomorrow, and he joined us in Chris's Corner in the last segment, and he said he literally, as he promised, kissed the ground when he landed in the city of brotherly love. And some of you may think, oh, good grief, does he know what's on that airport floor? Or, how goofy is that? No, I think it's fantastic. I think it's awesome. And it's the title of my stump speech today. It's not crazy to kiss the ground, the title of today's Speaker Stump Speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Yeah, all these little elitist, ivory-towered, entitled little liberal leftists running around yelling and screaming about how horrible the United States of America is. They don't know how good they have it, that they're actually able to say that in this country without fear of recrimination and retribution, which is what often happens in other countries when you challenge their leadership. It's not crazy to kiss the ground when you come back to the United States of America, because you're probably realizing how great we have it here. And you know why we have it great here? You know why it's not crazy to kiss the ground? And it's because of the thing that the liberal left and the absolute, crazy progressives call the dated document known as the U.S. Constitution. It's not dated at all. It's also not some living, breathing thing that you get to it's living. It's a living document. It lives for us every single day. But it largely needs to be immutable. Do we need to make some changes from time to time? Yeah, there has been some change. There's amendments to the Constitution. I'm actually going to refer to those. The first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution are collectively known as the Bill of Rights. And there were a couple things that had to be massaged. But you know what? The Constitution that was written was always accurate. And then we had to kind of get with it with the program with things like, eradicating slavery and desegregation and making sure that, we had to make sure we desegregated, not segregated. We had to make sure that everybody had the right to vote. Now, these things, if you read the original text, it was there from the beginning. They just weren't practiced perfectly in the real world because we're humans and we're failures oftentimes. We're all sinners, right? Me included. But so this document that the left always wants to change, always wants to eradicate, always wants to evolve, they don't like it. But it's the basis for everything we get to do here in this country as to why we would kiss the ground when we come back from a literal war zone. It's things like the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. You can practice whatever religion you want in the United States of America. That is not true in many other countries around the world. Abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to assemble. None of those things may be prohibited because they're in the Constitution. You can't do most of those things in other countries. And if you do those things, you're subject to arrest and punishment and maybe even death. We take that for granted, the text of the First Amendment and how it operates in the real world. How about the fact that the Fourth Amendment guarantees that we, the people, are secure in our persons, in our homes, with our stuff against unreasonable searches and seizures? That shall not be violated, the Constitution says. No warrants shall issue except upon probable cause. They don't know what probable cause is in some of these third world tin pot dictatorships. They don't care to learn what it is. They're going to come after you and take what they want from you anytime they please. Thank you very much. Not here in the United States of America. Not because of our awesome Constitution. About the right to trial by a jury in the Fifth Amendment. That's not a right guaranteed in most of the rest of the planet. How about the right to a speedy trial so you don't just get locked up in the clink and they throw away the key forever and ever, amen. In the 6th Amendment, 7th Amendment, access to the courts, the 8th Amendment, you cannot be subjected to excessive bail. You can't have your liberty excessively taken away from you. It has to be judicious. Has to be, dare I say, equitable, to borrow a term from the left. Another term another great term that's been hijacked by the left. How about the 10th Amendment? An important amendment that, oh boy, do we need to. If there's one that's been eroded over time that needs to be built back up, it's the 10th Amendment. But at least it still exists and it's still on the books. The power is not delegated to the United States, to the federal government, nor prohibited by the states, are reserved to the states respectively. That keeps most of the power, at least on paper, and it should be in practice, in the hands of the people. That's not true in most other parliamentaries, even some of the good places, right? There's some great places around the planet that do try to exercise and emulate representative democracy. I would argue none of them are as good as the United States of America, but there's other democratic functioning democracies, representative democracies, and they have some vestiges of these. But even in the UK, like maybe our closest brother sister, they don't necessarily have the protections we do for things like free speech. And that's when they get in trouble and they go overboard and people have to rebel. We don't need to rebel. We've got it all right here in this handy dandy booklet I'm showing up to the camera. So yeah, the reason to kiss the ground, the reason it's not crazy to kiss the ground when you land back in the United States of America after you travel across hither and yon is because we are the greatest country currently on the planet. Hopefully we remain that way. And that's because we guarantee, and we continue to work on this. We continue to reinstitute it whenever the governments get too big, that the power is truly with, of, and around the people. And that's the Speaker's stump speech for today. Now it's nearly 5:22 in the afternoon. You've been listening, by the way, to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. Thanks for tuning in. If you're a first-timer, welcome. If you're an old-timer, please share us far and wide. I want you to share all of our platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter X, YouTube, Instagram, Rumble. We have an app that you should download on your phone. I know Chris utilized that app quite a bit when he was on the other side of the planet. News Talk STL is the app. Just go to your iPhone store, your Android, Google Play Store, and download News Talk STL. You can listen to our 6 live and local programs every single day, all of our awesome weekend programming. Got Jeff Co Patriot Radio that I help co-host with Billy Crow. We've got JC's Wayback Machine. We got outdoors shows. We got Dr. Randy Tobler and so many more. Todd Scholter. I always have to mention Todd Scholter because Joey V assists with the Right Mind Show as well. All right, 5:22 in the PM. When we come back, we're going to speak with a household name, Dick Morris, political consultant going back to the Clinton era. He has, of course, remained extremely prominent and appropriate. Now a radio host, WABC in New York City. We'll talk to him about the big, beautiful bill, the LA riots. New York City, or maybe New York State, I'm not sure. I'll ask him about this. Legalizing euthanasia. Ugh. Talk about somebody trying to emulate the failed Euro-socialist models. And Andrew Cuomo trying to ride back into the arena. All that and more straight ahead with Dick Morris. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
When I'm driving, I got a guy on the radio who talks to me. I can't see him, but he talks to me.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Starting to heat up Friday into the weekend. A low of 70 tonight, 93 in the afternoon Friday with sunny skies. A little more humid, so the heat index 97. But First Alert weather days kick in Saturday through Tuesday for intense and dangerous heat. The high Saturday and Sunday around 97 with a heat index around 105 with sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Looking for a bank that's strong, stable, and actually cares about you? Royal Banks Missouri is the answer. Royal Banks Missouri, they've been locally owned since 1964, and they have some of the highest financial ratings in St. Louis. Talk about convenience, 17 locations across the metro, plus up in Northeast Missouri and Hannibal, Missouri, across the river in Jerseyville, Granite City, and 2 locations in St. Charles, and over 200 free ATMs across the Midwest. Wherever you are, Royal Banks is right there with you. Need banking on your schedule? Their interactive teller machines connect you with a real banker live weekdays till 7 p.m., Saturdays too. Whether you're looking for an auto loan, a mortgage, mobile banking, or wealth management, Royal Banks delivers it all with real hometown service you can feel. Don't settle for less. Check them out today at royalbanksofmo.com. Royal Banks of Missouri, the community bank for your community.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you're testing your blood sugar 4 or more times per day, injecting insulin 3 or more times per day, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetic Health Hotline today.
800-515-2380. That's 800-515-2380. Paid for by U.S. Med.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
June is packed with incredible experiences in beautiful Augusta, Missouri. Mark your calendars. June 20th brings the unforgettable Taste of Tradition dinner, a 5-course culinary journey with wine pairings right in the town square. June 21st and 22nd go behind the scenes at local wineries during the exclusive AVA Expo. And wrap up the month June 29th with insider secrets on our winemakers panel. All in Augusta, Missouri. Get your tickets now at augusta-chamber.org. That's augusta-chamber.org.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
I'm surprised that the Senate has decided to completely depart from the House framework when it comes to Medicaid and the provider taxes. I'm also surprised that they decided to extend the Green New Deal tax subsidies. They decided to weaken and roll back a bunch of the president's tax cuts, the populist tax cuts. And then on the rural hospitals, I mean, what they're doing is lowering the provider tax to make it even worse. So it's like we're defunding rural hospitals in order to pay for extension to the Green New Deal.
Well, that's the senior senator from the great state of Missouri, Josh Hawley, and we're going to talk about his comments about the One Big Beautiful Bill and about a ton of other topics with the great Dick Morris, who joins us once again here at 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Mr. Morris, thanks for joining us here in St. Louis again. Great to have you on with us today.
Oh, it's great to be here. I love this station.
Yeah. So, Dick, tell us. So, what's up with Senator Hawley there? Do you think he's throwing a little shade on the One Big Beautiful Bill? Is he just trying to massage things a little bit to his favor? I would assume that we're going to get all these senators on board.
I think so. He's just negotiating in public, and God bless him for trying. But I think we have to realize that in 2016, when Trump was first elected, he sat down with his people and said, okay, what should we do? And the major priority discussion then was, do we talk about Obamacare or do we talk about tax cuts? And they decided to focus on repeal and replacing Obamacare.
Mm-hmm.
And they never got around to doing the tax cuts until the end of the year, the end of 2017. And as a result, in the election in 2018, the tax cuts had not taken effect. We did not have the economic recovery that we ultimately did have. And because they hadn't taken effect yet, the Republicans lost 40 seats in the House and lost control of the House. And Trump is determined not to repeat that mistake. So he's putting his tax cuts first and foremost. And it's very important that everybody get on board and pass this stuff. Otherwise, we'll never win the election of 2028, of 2026.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. Folks, we're talking to Dick Morris. He's a radio host now at WABC. I've been listening to Mr. Morris for decades. Just fascinating stuff. DickMorris.com, at Dick Morris Tweet on Twitter X. Mr. Morris, one of the things you've been writing and talking about is while Republicans are trying to do things for Americans in the United States of America, Democrats are continuing to do things to Americans in the United States of America. The latest being the LA riots, which you believe is an absolute disaster for Democrats. Do tell.
Yeah, I think the Democratic Party absolutely is killing itself by its opposition to Trump's efforts to stop illegal immigration and to deport those who are already here, even if they've committed crimes in the United States. And the Democrats are doing everything they can to obstruct that. They announced that, for example, the Los Angeles Dodgers just announced that ICE agents would not be permitted into the baseball stadium to find illegal immigrants. And we need to get behind the president in this. His strategy of keeping out illegal immigrants and deporting the ones who are here has worked brilliantly in raising wages in America. And the wages have gone up significantly in the last quarter, largely because we don't have these illegal people here competing for jobs. And I think that Trump is just acting in the national interest, and I think the Democrats are defying him and wrong. But my immediate focus now is for Josh Hawley to stop quibbling over the details of this thing and pass it. When you have a bill of over 1,000 items and all of that, there are going to be 2 or 3 you don't agree with. And I know he wants a little more money for rural hospitals and a little more money for Medicaid. We have to realize that most of the Medicaid cutting that Trump is doing is cutting off Medicaid for illegal immigrants.
Right.
And Trump is saying that you have to be here legally in order to get your health care paid. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
So I hope that Josh Hawley gets on board here.
Yeah, and as much as some senators like Senator Hawley, they're quibbling on some of these things, isn't this bill, if people actually step back and look at this, isn't this one of the most revolutionary pieces of legislation we've seen in a long time from a Republican president and from a Republican majority?
Yeah, well, from anybody.
From anybody, yeah.
It's a massive tax cut, not just on the rich, but, for example, tips or overtime pay that rich people don't get are going to have tax cuts under this bill. And it's a huge cut in government spending, all of the stuff that Elon Musk worked on. And this is probably the major cut in government spending, the first time it's actually reduced, not just inflation cut, but the actual numbers reduced. And it's a miracle that Trump is able to propose this and get it accomplished and got it through the House, although by 1 vote.
And to follow up on that, on Trumponomics in general, Mr. Morris, you were, I remember listening to you talk about the tariff situation right before Donald Trump instituted it. And despite the so-called experts who are still running around lighting their hair on fire, saying that we're going to have a recession and there's going to be all this inflation, none of that has happened, has it? Instead, the tariffs have actually done exactly what Donald Trump hoped they would do, haven't they?
Yeah, they've done 2 things. First, they have brought $8 trillion of companies to the United States. Because when Trump said, don't try to sell us your products, move here and hire the workers here, run your factories here. So many firms are doing that. And secondly, it's generating a massive amount of revenue that will make all of these tax cuts possible. Because these tariffs, the tariff is actually paid to the government. And so far, they're netting hundreds of billions of dollars extra in revenues. So Trump basically has fashioned a way to have his cake and eat it too. End the discrimination against American products, get foreign companies to come to the United States, and in the process generate huge amounts of revenue, basically making foreigners pay for our budget deficit.
Indeed. Folks, we're speaking with Dick Morris, political consultant, famous political consultant and radio host on WABC in New York City. Mr. Morris, one of the things that I think Senator Hawley has been correct on thus far have been his statements he's made about of the biggest story of the day, of course, and of the last week, which was the Israel-Iranian conflict. Where do you see that going, and what do you think might be going on in Donald Trump's mind as he tries to figure out what the level of U.S. involvement should or should not be?
Well, first, I think it's an enormous success by Trump. And he absolutely finessed the Iranians and fooled them by doing these negotiations and while Israel was preparing this massive attack. And there have been few military attacks in history nearly as successful as Israel has had. Now, the problem is there still is this mountain, Mount Fordo, where the Iranians have buried their enrichment facilities. And Trump is considering sending the bunker buster, the great big American bomb, they call it MOAB, the mother of all bombs, to explode to knock out this enrichment facility. And I think he should be allowed to do that. I think he said that he's going to take 2 weeks to decide. And obviously in the 2 weeks, Israel is continuing to pound Iran and encourage regime change in Iran by making it evident to the Iranian people that something has to give here. And I think that Trump is doing the right job. I think it takes a while for him to make the decision because he's determined to stay out of foreign wars. But so far, he's played the situation masterfully.
Yes, and do you think that the rest of the Middle East is ready for this change too, right? This is not the 1980s or 90s. It seems like the Arab nations are kind of sitting quietly by and just letting Israel do what Israel wants to do at this point in time.
Yes, they are. And I think they're all going to sign on with the Abraham Accords when this is over, recognizing Israel and healing the breaches in the Mideast. I think Iran has so misplayed the Middle East. The Syrian government's collapsed, Hamas has collapsed, Hezbollah has collapsed, all of their regional allies are gone. And the big reason is that behind all of this, Trump is stopping Iran from selling its oil, mainly to China. And by imposing the kinds of sanctions he's imposing that he did in his first term and that Biden eliminated, I think Trump is accomplishing a tremendous objective of ending Iran's terrorism.
And I don't know that he'll get credit for it, except for from people like you and me. But if this all keeps heading in the direction it is heading, I mean, arguably, Donald Trump's one of the greatest foreign policy presidents since Reagan, wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the United States has three global adversaries, Iran, China, and Russia. Iran is obviously being destroyed before our eyes. The Chinese economy is in terrible shape. They're in the middle of a major deflation, and they can't seem to get consumer demand going. And Russia has become basically a hollowed-out country, a gas station with nuclear weapons. And our enemies are growing weaker by the moment, and Trump is growing stronger. This is a major success.
Speaking to Dick Morris, you can find him at Dick Morris Tweet on Twitter X. He's also, of course, got all this great material, many things we've discussed and more at dickmorris.com. Mr. Morris, I think a lot of Americans outside of New York especially are looking at this attempted return of Andrew Cuomo. I mean, saying he's running for mayor, but yet all the COVID years in which he was officiating as governor continue to follow him around, don't they?
Yeah, well, they do, because he committed genocide. There were 6,000 people who were dying of COVID who were in New York hospitals. And he moved them to nursing homes, for God's sakes. And the nursing homes were filled with the most vulnerable people you can imagine. And 6,000 people died needlessly. And I think that should knock him out of politics. The problem is that his opponent is a guy named Mandami, Mandami, who is as close to a communist and a socialist as you can think. And if he's elected, it's even worse. So the New Yorkers have a terrible choice coming up in their Democratic primary.
Indeed. And one final question for you. Let's finish where we started. The big, beautiful bill. Speaker Johnson has masterfully gotten it out of the House. The Senate is working through its markup and moving towards their version of the situation. Do they get this done in short order? Does Donald Trump have to get engaged again? And ultimately, does this get through? And do people like Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri get on board?
Yes, I think Hawley's going to get on board, and I think all of the Republicans will. I think that they're just negotiating and quibbling in public. And I think we all understand that this is the key to the success of Trump's domestic presidency. If he gets this thing passed, he's going to have a very good economy. He's going to get elected again, or his people will, in 2026. He'll control Congress, and he'll get a lot done. If it doesn't pass, I think that he'll lose control. I think Congress will go Democrat, and the next years of his presidency will be a nightmare.
Yep. Given all your experience, I absolutely believe everything you just said right there. Dick Morris, dickmorris.com. Mr. Morris, thank you so much for your time, your insight, and your analysis.
Thank you for having me
Love to
on.
have you back.
It's great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too as well. Great. Dick Morris. We got through a lot of subjects there with him. That was really absolutely fantastic. It is 5:41 in the Heartland. I cannot believe this. We have one final segment left. If you've been wondering, if you just turned in, maybe you tune in around 5:30 or so as you're heading home from work and you're wondering, well, is Tim going to let Chris talk today? Well, we had him on earlier. He did Chris's corner. Chris literally just got back into the great United States of America. He is safely home with his wonderful wife, Becky. They're back here in the Lou. He will be back on the airways with us tomorrow. And Joey, you think he remembers how to use like a microphone and stuff and all that? He's been gone for a while.
He's been doing hits all over the place.
That's true.
He was doing Indianapolis. He was on Fox 2. And now all the radio publications are picking him up. We've been texted from the boss.
Yes.
That was it. Talkers Magazine and Radio Insight have both picked up on Chris's story. So it's like all the other radio stations across the country are paying attention to us.
I wanted to mention that. I'm glad you reminded me of that, Joey. Yeah, Jeff just sent us this, folks. If you want to look at, look, you can go to Chris's Facebook page, and he's got a ton of this information up here, and all the interviews and all the great places he was, and the dangerous places he was, and the exciting places he was. Christopher Arps on Facebook, and as Joey just mentioned, he's featured in Inside Radio, insideradio.com. Just go to insideradio.com. Listen to the title of this. Missiles were flying overhead. Talk radio host in the thick of the Israel-Iran conflict. And right there in the first, in the second paragraph, first sentence, second paragraph, we are mentioned. 1019 News Talk STL. That is fantastic. Thank you, Chris, for getting us all that attention all over the country. And it's well-deserved because you literally were in the belly of the beast and you took the time to put out some excellent content. He'll be back on the air with us tomorrow. What do we got coming up next? Well, I'm going to tell you in our final segment. We've got Larry Connors USA coming up at 6:05. Joey and I will prepare you for that. And I'll go around the horn and let you know about all the other interesting and informative headlines of the day that we didn't quite get to that you need to know about. We'll do that. Maybe lighten things up a little bit and prepare you for Larry Connors USA. All that and more is straight ahead here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
You can climb a mountain. You can swim the sea. You can jump into the fire. But you never be free.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show.
Bada boom. Big boom.
Yeah, big bada boom.
We can make each other happy. Oh, we can make each other happy.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Look 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. It's starting to heat up Friday into the weekend. A low of 70 tonight, 93 in the afternoon Friday with sunny skies. little more humid, so the heat index 97. But first alert weather days kick in Saturday through Tuesday for intense and dangerous heat. The high Saturday and Sunday around 97 with a heat index around 105 with sunny skies. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Vic for Vets Honoree of the Day.
Thursday, we honored U.S. Marine Scott Summerhoff, submitted by our friend Ron Clutho. And we couldn't do it without the great support of DG Firearms, Patriot Heating and Cooling, and Best Buy Flooring.
The Vic Verselli Show. Weekdays 9 to noon on News Talk STL.
Everybody needs a good lawyer by their side, and it's not just if or when, or maybe hopefully never you get in trouble. It's to prepare. It's to plan, right? And that's where an excellent lawyer like Todd Sivia of the Sivia Law Centers comes in handy. You can reach out to him right now today, 833-995-WILL, 833-995-WILL. Mention News Talk STL. Make sure you do that. You'll get a complimentary strategy session. That's a $300 value. That's fantastic. CiviaLaw.com is their fantastic website, CiviaLaw.com. There is a Sivia Law Center, one of the 7, somewhere near you. They're up and down the Interstate 70 corridor. There's likely a Sivia Law Center not far from your homestead. Why should you go to them? Like I said, for all your planning purposes in life. I'm talking estate planning. I'm talking when you need to prepare to help out your folks or your grandparents, elder law needs. How about special needs? Do you have a special needs person in your life that you need to do some legal planning for so they're safe and secure? How about real estate? Many of you I know dabble in real estate. Some of you do it as full-time gigs. Well, Todd Sivia, he also handles a lot of real estate matters legally, and then he's involved in real estate as an entrepreneur as well. So he knows how to walk the walk and talk the talk in the real estate world, knows it inside and out. He can help you with that too. And because he's a small business owner, he loves working with other small business owners. He'll help you set up your business, work through all of the types of decision-making processes you have to make, managerial decisions. How about doing asset purchases, maybe expenditures? How about winding down your business and handing it off, succession planning? He can help you with that too. Todd Sivia, the great folks at Sivia Law Centers. They can handle everything from soup to nuts. Give them a call today, 833-995-WILL. They do estate planning and so much more. 833-995-WILL, CiviaLaw.com. That's CiviaLaw.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
I've got a great evening planned for you. We start with dining at the Oak Street Inn Lounge in Cottleville. We enjoy sunset on the rooftop, then down to the speakeasy. Just one visit, you're going to see why I'm always talking about the Oak Street Inn and Lounge. Plus, you might want to plan a staycation, a romantic getaway. Check out oakstreetinandlounge.com for various events this summer. Oak Street Inn and Lounge, Cottleville. Oak Street Inn and Lounge, Cottleville.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Really quick on Jasmine Crockett. She said, I believe, that Trump supporters are mentally ill before calling for bipartisan support against the president. Can you respond to that, especially considering she's a rising star in the Democrat Party right now?
She is a rising star. It's quite something to behold, actually. I hope that she continues to be a rising star for the Republican Party, at least. I think it's incredibly derogatory to accuse nearly 80 million Americans of mental illness. The last time I checked, Jasmine Crockett couldn't dream of winning such a majority of the public as President Trump did.
So great that even though Cori Bush is gone, apparently her spirit lives on in the visage of one Jasmine Crockett. Yep, keep talking, Congresswoman Crockett. You're going to make sure that Republicans remain the majority party, as definitely, if you keep espousing this lunatic leftism that basically handed your party lots of defeats over the last few years. 549 in the heartland. You know what? While I'm thinking about it, let me tell you what's coming up on Larry Connors USA. I believe Larry did provide us his topics earlier today. If I can find them. Yes, he did. Absolutely. It's like clockwork. Coming up on Larry Connors USA at 6:05, guest makes a remark about Israel, and that's when the fight started. Uh-oh. Larry's putting up them dukes. Trump provides a target date to deal with Iran. Or did he? Yeah, Larry's very good with nuance and wordsmithing language. He's made a career out of it. I think I know what he's talking about, but I'm going to let him explain it all to you at between 6 and 8 p.m. You're just going to have to listen. And finally, lunatic leftists. I added the lunatic part. Leftists continue to tell big ugly lies about the big beautiful bill. Yes, they do indeed. Larry will break all that down beginning around 6:05. Major headlines of the day, other things that we didn't get to, but we'll get to them right now. See, I didn't leave them out. Migrant influx pushing Massachusetts, and as we call them, Taxachusetts. Migrant influx pushing Massachusetts shelter costs past $1 billion. Yeah, folks, we had an illegal invasion, illegal alien invasion. They're destroying our country from the inside out, and they're costing us every piggy bank that we can break wide open, that they've broken wide open. So you've got potential terrorist sleeper cells. So because of Joe Biden's illegal alien invasion, we have potential. Well, we know we have known criminals, right? Because they've harmed, maimed, killed, raped, murdered, horrible, so many Americans. We know we have, most likely we have terrorist sleeper cells because there was thousands, if not tens of thousands of people actually on the terrorist watch list. And according to this story from Fox News, they're continuing to try to bankrupt our nation. I mean, if this is, I think somebody famous once said, maybe it was a president, America will never get taken down from an enemy abroad or on the exterior. It'll get taken down from the interior if and whenever we allow a cancer to spread. And that's what an illegal alien invasion is. Not legal immigrants. Not talking about legal immigrants. I'm a product of legal immigrants. It's the illegal aliens who come here to, rape and pillage and cause damage that need to be sent back home. And Donald Trump's working on that. The Treasury Department, U.S. Treasury Department, has sanctioned 5 leaders of a Mexican cartel. Cyber pros warn of digital threats spreading from Iran. Oh, really? Cyber professionals are warning of an increased risk of hacks and digital attacks emanating from Iran that everyone needs to prepare for amid the escalating Israel-Iran war. Wow. Let's hope we're prepared for that. The Supreme Court, as we talked about yesterday, has allowed states to restrict transgender treatments for minors. That was the Scrimeti case. Huge victory. The left is absolutely losing their minds about that decision. Pete Hegseth, Defense Secretary, says the Pentagon has provided Donald Trump options for the Israeli-Iran conflict. We talked about that quite a bit. Talked about that with Steve Bucci earlier today. If you missed that conversation, just download it on the podcast page, wherever you get podcasts. You can hear about that in our very first hour at 4:25. So it was about 25 minutes into the first hour. And finally, from the op-ed department of Newsmax, Democrats don't prevent crime. They embrace it. I mean, when you call something a mostly peaceful riot, not once, not twice, but for like the 30,000th time, like they've called the LA riots, I think that op-ed is well grounded in fact. Indeed. 5:53 in the PM. Joey, you watched a movie last night. Are we going to preview that tomorrow? Is that the plan?
Yeah, we can review that tomorrow. I watched 28 Years Later, and I loved it.
Good.
I mean, I love a good horror film. I love zombie movies, and they continued the trend of making really good ones. Danny Boyle, the director.
So this one delivered?
Oh, yeah. Danny Boyle. He did 28 Days Later, 28 Years Later, and 28 Weeks Later. And then, of course, Alex Garland. I mean, he is just becoming one of my favorite writer-directors. He did Civil War and Warfare this past year, and those were fun. I think you enjoyed Civil War a little bit.
I did.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. Made me think.
How they took over the White House and helicopters shooting things up in DC. I'm sure it was
Yes.
crazy walking through that afterwards after you saw
Yeah,
the movie.
I think about that every once in a while when I'm up there.
There's a big kids movie that came out this
Yeah?
weekend that I didn't get a screening for. It's a Pixar movie, Elio, which I'm sure is going to make a ton of money. And this is a follow-up from the people that made Turning Red.
Okay.
That was about a girl who's going through puberty and she becomes a red panda whenever she starts feeling hormones. And that was a really fun movie. So I assume Elio may be good, but I don't know why they didn't give me a screening. Maybe they thought I would be a big meanie to it or something. It's about a kid who loves space and then he has to deal with some aliens. And that sounds fun too. So maybe I'll watch it this weekend or something, but those are the two big ones, Elio and 28 Years Later.
Interesting. And Joey, all these movies you've seen recently, the critics they're getting critically acclaimed. They're all getting really high marks. 28 Years Later is getting very high marks. Ballerina, very high marks. The Materialists that you saw, very high marks. So everything, there's some good movies coming out, and Final Reckoning, pretty decent marks.
My girlfriend's brother-in-law drove all the way to Indianapolis, Indiana to watch Dead Reckoning.
Why is that?
Because they have an actual 70 millimeter print in IMAX of Dead Reckoning. It takes people like 3-4 hour drives just to see it in this format because they don't have film prints of IMAX movies. They're so expensive and so big. So he drove all the way out there and he said something he loved, that when they went to the specific IMAX scene when he was under the water, he was turning a wheel underneath the water and it made the format of the screen change.
No way.
As Tom Cruise was turning, it got a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and then it made it all the way bigger. And little things like that I think are great. They'll do little tricks like that to switch between the scenes that are in IMAX and the scenes that are in regular 35 millimeter. Sometimes it's just so expensive to shoot an entire movie in IMAX, so they'll do just a few select scenes.
Mm-hmm. Joey, it's hard to believe we're like almost 30 days into. I know summer officially begins this weekend, but the unofficial start of summer, of course, is when the kids get out of school and Memorial Day weekend, and now here we are. We're knocking on the door of June 20th tomorrow. I know we're waiting for the Superman movie, the James Gunn Superman movie we talked about yesterday, to come out. Any other big summer blockbusters, or have they all been released at this point?
I basically skipped all the Jurassic World movies because they got too complex. But this next one, Jurassic World Rebirth, that's coming out July 2nd. I'm going to give it a shot. It's almost like they're redoing the first Jurassic Park, where there's a whole other island of dinosaurs. And this one's got Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali. So I think it could be fun. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't just, in today's world, you can't just CGI a bunch of cool-looking dinosaurs and have that be the movie. The cast members do matter in these things.
Mm-hmm.
And the movies, the Jurassic, I'm a big Jurassic Park guy because I love dinosaurs and all that. But you're right, Joey. Some of the movies in the middle, they dragged and they lost their luster. I hope they bring back the original charm and attraction of Jurassic World.
Yeah, there was something about mosquitoes and clones in the last one. I was like, I don't even care
That's
anymore.
too complicated, indeed. Hey, we'll be back tomorrow with one Chris Arps, Joey, and Chris and I will help take you into the weekend. Next up, of course, is Larry Connors USA. Keep it right here. Lots more straight ahead. The Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1 News Talk STL. God bless.
Need help navigating Medicare? The Westhoff Agency is here to assist.
Hi, I'm Debbie Westhoff with Westhoff Agency. We have helped hundreds of people just like you navigate Medicare options.
Our team of experts makes the process simple and stress-free.
Let me, Debbie Westhoff, be your personal Medicare guide, walking you through each choice to find the coverage that truly fits.
Visit westhoffagency.com for more information. That's westhoffagency.com.
Westhoff Agency is your trusted Medicare